Hi students, today I am going to start the chapter of motion in physics, and the topics to be covered in this chapter is motion, what's motion, under which we will discuss about describing motion of a particle, under which we will talk about position, path, length and displacement, then uniform and non-uniform motion. We'll describe the rate of motion, under which we will study about speed and velocity. Then we will describe about the rate of change of velocity, under which we will discuss about acceleration, and then distance time graph, velocity time graphs, equations of motion, and uniform circular motion. So let's start with motion. What is motion? First, try to understand what do we mean by motion. Now, if you look at or if you go to your dictionary, then try to search out the meaning of word motion. You will see that motion is nothing but movement. And what is movement? When do you say that an object is moving? Let's suppose you are standing somewhere. So, do you say that you are moving? You are not, right? Because you are fixed at a point. Now, let's suppose you start walking from your home to school. So, now are you moving? Yes, you are, because your position is changing with time. As time is passing, your position is no more the same. You are not standing at your home, you are gradually moving to a new position. And finally, at a certain point of time, you are reaching your school. So that means with time, your position is changing. So, what is motion? Motion is nothing but change of position with time. So, when the position of an object changes with time, we say that the object is moving, or we say that the object is in motion. So, a body is said to be in motion if it changes its position with time. So, when we think of examples, we have plenty of examples. For instance, the moving blades of a fan. Once we switch on the fan, the blades will move, blades will start moving. That is, the fan is in motion. Another example, moving car. The moment driver starts, the car will start moving, the position of car changes with time. Now, when I talk of motion, there's another interesting fact which is to be observed. What is that interesting fact? The fact is that the motion is a relative term. Now, what do I mean by relative term? It means motion of an object is always with respect to some frame of reference. You might be thinking, what is this term, frame of reference? You will understand it very soon. Let's take an example. For instance, the guy is standing along with his two kids. Man is standing along with his kids at the bus stop. He is waiting for some bus to arrive. So, what do you think? Are those three people in motion? They are not in motion because all of the three are at the same position. They are neither walking nor running. So, their position is not changing with time. So, they are not in motion, they are at rest. Right? Now, let's suppose there's a bus. There's a bus which passes across the road. Now, what do you think? Is the bus in motion? Yes, of course, the bus is in motion because the bus is changing its position, it's going from one point to another with time. So, its position is changing with time. Therefore, the bus is in motion. Now, think it in this way, there will be people who are sitting inside the bus, correct? Let's suppose inside the bus you are having two people, say A and B. Both are sitting inside the bus. Now for A, B is in motion or at rest? Definitely for A, B is at rest because both the persons are sitting inside the bus. The bus is moving, but the persons are not moving as such, right? So both the persons are sitting on their seats. So according to A, B is at rest, and according to B, A is at rest. Clear? But now you think of this situation in some other way. What is the situation of A and B for the man waiting at the bus stop? When the man at bus stop sees the person A and B, for this man A and B are moving, correct? Because for this person A and B are moving here and there because he has not bothered about whether the bus is moving or not. The person is moving for him. The person in bus are changing their position. So that means those persons are moving, correct? So, what interesting fact you observe here? You see that any object is in motion or any object is at rest. That depends on the person who is observing it, right? Let's suppose if these two persons are sitting inside the bus, if B is being observed, it's observed, it means B is the object. And if this B is observed by A, it means A is the observer. Then for A, B is at rest. B is at rest. But if the same object B is observed by the man at the bus stop, it means now our observer is man. So for the man at bus stop, the B is at motion. So B for the A, B is at rest, but for man, B is at motion. So you understand whether an object is in motion or not. It's decided by the person who is observing, who observes it. That means motion of an object is always with respect to some frame of reference. So what is that frame of reference? That is nothing but the reference frame of the observer. So for example, in this case, the man, so for instance, in this case, what was the frame of reference with the man watching at the bus stop? The man is my frame of reference. His vision is considered as my reference to view anything. Now, when A is observing, A is observer, then A is my frame of reference. Whatever he is seeing is considered to be my reference to view anything. So that means the motion of any object is always with respect to some frame of reference. Because with one frame of reference, an object might be at rest, whereas for other frame of reference, the same object might be in motion. So motion is always dependent on a frame of reference. So whenever you say that this object is moving, moving with respect to what? So you always have to give a relative fact. So for instance, the object is moving relative to me because I am observing this. I am the frame of reference. Correct? Okay, so this way, this was an interesting fact about motion. Now let's talk about some basic categories of motion or types of motion. Rectilinear motion. Now if you look at this term rectilinear, what does the word linear means here? Linear means something, a straight line is called linear. So whenever motion takes place along a straight line, motion along a straight line, that is called a rectilinear motion. So if a car is moving along a straight line, so it's called rectilinear motion. Similar, something moving like this, it's called rectilinear motion. Something like this, it's called rectilinear motion. Now we have another term, circular motion. The name itself defines this. It's nothing but the motion along a circular path. So, for example, when a car is moving along the path like this, for instance, a car is moving like this on this path, it means the car is having circular motion. So, in this lesson, we'll first talk about rectilinear motion, then towards the end of the lesson, we'll talk about circular motion. Now, let's see how will we describe the motion of an object. In order to understand motion in depth, we need to describe the motion of an object. And there has to be certain quantities, there has to be certain physical quantities, rather, which will describe the motion of an object. How will we mathematically or scientifically describe the motion of an object? Let's try to understand that. Now, what do you think is the first thing that is needed in order to describe the motion of an object? Just quickly remember the definition of motion: change in position with time. So, that is the first thing we need in motion: position. Because the first thing we need is position in order to describe the motion of an object. Position needs to be defined. Now, we have to define the position of an object. What does this term position means? Point at which the object is located at a particular instant of time. So, for example, here at a small boy is on a cycle, sorry. Right now, it's at rest. What is the position of the boy? Definitely, the position of the boy is A. This is the point where the boy is located. This is the location of boy at this point of time. Now, what happens? The boy starts riding a cycle. So, the position of boy starts changing with time. At the time first, the boy was here at A. Then he reached here, then for instance, he reached here at point B. This means with the passage of time, the position of a boy is changing. Now, if I want to describe mathematically the promotion of object, we need to define the position of object at every instant of time. Now we will see how do we actually talk about motion in terms of physics, but that we will discuss in the next lecture. This was all about motion. Thank you, students.